Hey Internet, here's a walkthrough of my Wi-Fi SD card setup for a studio environment. So I'm shooting two Transcend cards, and these are Wi-Fi SD cards. So the Wi-Fi is built into the SD card themselves, and I'm shooting JPEG plus RAW mode. So the smaller JPEGs get sent over Wi-Fi to an iPad running ShutterSnitch, which is a really awesome program. And then later I import the RAW files off the SD cards themselves. The Transcend cards are new to the market, a little bit cheaper actually, and also class 10, which is the faster format than the older iFi cards. And I've had trouble with iFi cards in the past. I'm happy to be on a new system. And ShutterSnitch will catch the files. It allows you to browse around, pinch to zoom, which is great for reviewing shots as you take them. And what's also great is it'll catch up. So if I disconnect a camera, and then before the camera reconnects, if I quick turn it on and just snap a bunch of photos, as soon as it gets back on the network, it will reconnect, and ShutterSnitch will detect the new contents in the card and then catch up, which is super, super awesome. So one thing that happened there is that attached to my router, I've actually got a Raspberry Pi with a Blink 1 color RGB dongle, and I'm using this to indicate which cards are actually on the network. The Transcend cards boot time is really slow, and it's kind of hard to tell if it's just not on the network or if it's not connecting to ShutterSnitch or what the trouble is. So right now I'm using two colors, one for each card, green and blue. And it's solidly lit green, which means that just the green card is connected. This is the camera that I power cycled. So now it's flashing blue, and then it's going to go solid white, meaning both cards are online, and then in a second ShutterSnitch will catch up. The router is running TomatoUSB firmware, which is open source firmware. That's super useful for boosting signal strength and just getting a better device list to see what's actually on the network. It does have USB ports, and I'm actually using that to power the Raspberry Pi, but I couldn't get the Blink 1 tool to compile on the router architecture, which is a bit of a bummer. But there's the photos I took before the camera booted, catching up. Super, super duper useful. And then if I just disconnect one of the cameras, the ping to it will fail on the Raspberry Pi. And then I'll flash the color red, the color of the card, and then red indicating that the blue card is now offline, and now it's solidly lit green. But that is my setup. It's super useful to have a dedicated router for it. Partly for performance reasons, the radios in the Wi-Fi cards by necessity are quite small and shitty. And it also makes travel shoots a lot easier because I can just take the router with me rather than having to worry about reconfigure the cards for some other network that I don't control. But yeah, two Transcend cards, 40 or 50 bucks on Amazon. And then the status light is a Blink 1, super useful device. And I'd love to run it off the router directly, and maybe I'll be able to get the tool working for it. But in the meantime, just plugged into a $35 Raspberry Pi whose sole job it is to watch the network for the Transcend Wi-Fi cards. And then ShutterSnitch is the app on iPad. Awesome app. You can tag stuff, you can show histograms, you can watermark. It has an external display, which is great if you have a projector and you want to show a slideshow of the currently taken shots. Highly, highly recommend ShutterSnitch. And it's compatible with iFi cards, which I used to use and no longer use, and then the Transcend cards, which I am now using and quite happy with. Later, Internet.